Just 3 short years ago, Giant Grant Games made a video completing the human campaign as a pacifist, claiming very early on in the video that, quote, enemies will attack and repairing their target is the only way we can contest them.
But is that the whole story?
I recently set out to prove that the Swarm has what it takes to be pacifists, even if my drones can't repair structures. The rules of the run are as follows. 1. I may not kill any enemy units or structures. 2. I may kill main objectives, bonus objectives, or required kills, such as groups of Terran units that must be defeated to open a door. There are a ton of required kills that aren't technically objectives, and it gets a bit frustrating at times. I'll try to mention every instance of this when it happens on screen. Rule 3. Try to complete every level possible. I will be giving my best shot at every level in the entire campaign, including every planet and the evolution missions. Rule 4. I am not responsible for the actions of my allies. If my allies have guns and they kill things, that's not on me. Rule 5. The run will be played on casual difficulty. You might think I'm a big baby for doing this on casual, but as you'll soon see, I'm positive that many of these missions would not be possible on anything but casual. And last, rule 6, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment for the algorithm gods. With that out of the way, I hope you enjoyed the video. Lab Rat brings us to the most boring tutorial ever. After falling asleep on my Z key to make plenty of Zerglings, I move command my little fellas through the lab. The only required kills here are these gas turrets, which I have to eliminate to open the door to the final objective. After clicking on the eradicator, the mission is complete. Easy peasy. Back in the saddle is where things start to get tricky. To start the mission, I'm forced to annihilate this poor innocent marauder. The game won't let me continue without doing so. I walk Kerrigan and Jimmy through the lab until this small defense section where I have a few Emojian allies to help us defeat this large group of Zerglings. The Emojians will get absolutely bodied by the Zerglings if we stand by and watch. After a quick reset, I can move Kerrigan and Raynor to the corner of the room, keeping the attention of the Zerglings on their ultra-thick body armor while my allies slowly chip away at the Zerglings' HP. I keep walking the lovebirds through the lab until these barricades. Some of these will be destroyed by the enemy, but this last one has to be taken down by Kerrigan and Jim to continue. This takes us to the tram station, the first roadblock of the run. I have 4 Emojian allied marines to defend from medevacs, tanks, wraiths, and more. While Jim and his battlecruiser pants are very tanky, the pressure eventually just gets too high. A few resets later, and I can't seem to make it through the tram station. Surely the run isn't already over, right? This is where I come across the first micro trick of the challenge. By clicking to attack one enemy unit and quickly cancelling my attack, Jim will get tricked into shooting it, while Kerrigan does not get a shot off. Normally he simply copies all my commands, so it's very difficult to trick him to do something else. Unfortunately though, this trick is really difficult to pull off, and I have to do it perfectly many times in a row to alleviate enough pressure. While technically it isn't against the rules to damage enemies, I'd like to avoid it wherever I can, especially because Kerrigan gets Raynor's kill credit. After getting through the tram station, I'm up against the Archangel, which, luckily enough, is an objective. A quick fight later, and I've won. In Grant's Pacifist video, he mentions how every challenge run has 1 or more levels in it that go above and beyond in difficulty, highlighting the extreme nature of each run. As an experienced challenge runner, I can testify that this is all too true. In Heart of the Swarm Pacifist, there are 2 of these highly difficult missions. Welcome to Rendezvous, the first one. It also happens to be the first mission where we can build units and structures. With access to Spore and Spine Crawlers, Queens and Zerglings, our options are quite limited. My first idea is to destroy the allied infested structures, as they aren't enemies, don't count as kills, and spawned allied broodlings to kill the first small marine attack waves. This works well enough. Now let me introduce you to one of the best tools of the run, Uprooted Spine Crawlers. Because we're on casual difficulty, all of my units take half damage from everything. What's even better is that this damage is calculated before armor. This means that a marine dealing normally 6 damage per shot goes down to 3 from casual difficulty. And then it goes down to 1 damage from the 2 armor that Spine Crawlers have. It's incredible! Spine Crawlers are relatively cheap, and unlike most Zerg structures, have 2 armor points, and they don't spawn broodlings when they die, making them perfect for stalling out attackers. I position a queen to transfuse the spine crawler while the marines do their work, which actually works wonderfully until I run out of energy and the Dominion sends marauders. Unlike marines, marauders do a humble 20 damage per attack to my spines, and although that goes down to 8 from casual difficulty, it's still way more damage than I am ready for. All of a sudden, I'm doing this awkward fiasco of running Queens, Kerrigan, and Creep Tumors around to try and tank shots. It doesn't help that Queens won't automatically transfuse while walking, so I have to manually command them to do so. Things aren't going so bad until I accidentally kill the Wraith and have to restart. For a first attempt, there are a ton of things I need to improve. On my next attempt, I tried to make another hatchery, as well as more spine crawlers to tank. But on 1 base worth of income, it was really hard to squeeze out anything, and the transfusing was still super clunky. Even worse, sometimes I'd look back to my base to see my spine crawlers had finished morphing and were slaughtering the Terrans. That's not very pacifist. This next attempt, however, took me further than I had ever gone before. At around 5 minutes remaining, the Terran had me surrounded and were gunning down my main hatchery. I was desperately trying to do anything I could to not be eliminated, which, if you go outside, might not know what that means. The whole point of this mission is to keep all my buildings alive, and then once 15 minutes have passed, Noctul will give me the reinforcements I need to win the mission. If all my buildings are destroyed, game over. The Terran pressure gets ridiculously high though, and my queens actually ended up killing something, so I had to reset again. Proxy hatcheries are the name of the game here, building anything I can to prevent being eliminated. At 2 minutes and 30 seconds remaining, I did get eliminated, however. This wasn't going to be easy. By being a bit more active with my queens, I got this time even lower, but it still wasn't enough. A few more tries later, I decided to do a full mission restart. This time I am very consistent with my usage of Kerrigan to tank as often as I can. More importantly, however, I find this little nook below the ship Kerrigan brought with her. I can put an uprooted spine crawler down there and it will be very difficult for the Dominion to put large amounts of damage onto it. This run goes about the same as the others, except for the end. The Dominion is concerned with attacking the ship for the most part, only a few soldiers firing on the spine crawler. Unfortunately, it's not enough to save me, but this could be exactly what I need. The spine crawler wasn't the only important discovery in this run. I finally fixed the problem with the queens transfusing. The issue I was having was that the queens would not heal each other as they walked around, and my personal commands were not only super inefficient, but they would cause the queens to turn around and attack their enemies. Fortunately for me, there is a solution. By tapping the S key to issue the stop command, the queens will stop and then immediately look for any damaged units nearby to transfuse. And then they'll immediately look for nearby enemies to attack. But me simply tapping the S key and then giving the queens a move command right after, they will transfuse one another and then not have time to attack enemies. You can see the light turn on in my head as I realize just how useful this could be. What an absolute gem. Another full mission restart, this time I make many spine crawlers to put into the little nook, but the outcome is much the same. I then get desperate. I turn on a few cheats to look around the map, just begging for some inspiration. Nothing really piques my interest, so I decided I just need to control my queens more, and that's exactly what I did. With just the right amount of luring with my queens and perfect control, I bought just enough time for the spine crawlers to survive. Finally, Noctul's reinforcements arrived and I beat the mission. Is what I thought would happen. Instead, I got an army delivered right on top of the Dominion, which almost instantly killed an enemy, and then I was staring at the defeat screen not even 5 seconds later. So what the hell happened? Well, the Nidus Worm reinforcements spawn units directly into the fray, so I need to make sure they get no kills. But what I didn't know is that the worms aren't actually my structures. So I also have to survive during the second part of the mission. Great. So I need a hatchery, or something durable to be alive when the second part of the mission begins. I get a fantastic attempt, where I have some burrowed drones scattered around and enough minerals to make a few hatcheries. I get many awkward defeat screens, one with 7 seconds left and one during the cutscene. Eventually though, I had done it. A mostly full health hatchery alive during the final sequence. Now to deal with the main objective, the Draken Pulse Cannon. My first try, I am sure I accidentally killed so many Dominion units and I was still eliminated. Let's try that again. I managed to grab my units before they killed anything this time, and I took the units from the left to stall out the forces on my base, preventing myself from being eliminated. After turning the game speed down to help me with my unit control and trying again, I managed to destroy the pulse cannon and prevent my swarm from killing anything. Holy crap. That's ridiculously difficult, but remember how I mentioned that there are 2 very difficult missions in this challenge? Well, Rendezvous was the easier one. By a significant amount. Oh no. I'm going to Caldir right away, mostly because I really want the Roach. Harvest of Screams puts us in a cold wasteland where we get the Roach. I target down the Ursidon Matriarch and then try to lure the Ursidons away so they won't be attacking my base. This doesn't work, and these Ursidons are attacking me for the whole mission. Great. Luckily for me, I don't have to be here for very long. After a quick test, I realized that adrenal glands for the Zerglings would be amazing to focus down the multiple Silent Spires during the flash freeze. I return to the Leviathan, grab adrenal glands, and then make a ton of Zerglings. The rest of the level is as simple as stalling the attackers with roaches and clicking on the objectives. Next, however, is a holdout mission where I have to intercept shuttles before they warp away. This mission will go on for a long time and the Protoss pressure will only get worse as time goes on. This is where I tried something completely experimental. The Roach has a mutation called Tunneling Claws, which allows them to move while being burrowed, and they gain double the life regeneration while burrowed. The Roach already heals insanely fast while underground, so I figured maybe the Roaches could just tunnel through the enemy base and out-heal all the damage, and then go destroy the shuttle launch base before the mission gets rough. It turns out I could not be more correct. With almost no effort at all, the Roaches just breezed past Carriers, Immortals, Archons, and the whole Protoss army. After destroying all the launch bays, I burned down the last shuttle and escaped with an easy victory. Shoot the Messenger taught me the power of the Roach. Next up is the Zergling Evolution mission. Unfortunately, many of the evolution missions simply require me to just kill everything. I'm doing them for the few that don't require me to kill everything. The Karax are a required objective, so they're a no-brainer. The objective simply states that I need to destroy the Dominion outpost, so I focus every structure. Nope, I also have to kill every unit. What about the Swarmling Evolution? Same thing there. Every Dominion unit and structure must die for the mission to end. Oh well. Double, unfortunately, is the next mission. Enemy Within is a fantastic mission where you infest a Protoss colony ship. This first section has me infesting an Ursidon to kill a few Protoss. I try to simply sacrifice the Ursidon and rush into the tight space, but the Protoss execute my larvae very fast. After a bunch of tries, I turn on God mode to see if you can even go through before the units are killed in this room. No, you can't. After unfortunately killing everything in this room, I transform into Niadra. Then I see the objective. Kill everything. Which means I would play this mission no differently than if I was playing normally. Just for fun though, I tried to make it to the end of each section without killing anything, which really wasn't hard because I can burrow, make infinite units, have infinite life regen, and the enemy has no detection. In the end though, I just had to kill everything. What a bummer. Lastly on Kaldir is the Roach Evolution mission. The Scantipede is an objective, so I may kill it. And then I must destroy the Protoss lab, which again means to just kill everything. Boring. Now for the Viroach mutation, where I once again must kill everything. Great. Time to go to Char. Oops, I misclicked on Xeris. No, I'm not ready for Xeris. Let's go back to Char. Our first mission is Domination, where the Broodmother Zagara challenges Kerrigan for control over the swarm. We get the Baneling, a lovable ball of corrosive acid. The whole point of the mission is to collect enough eggs to hatch a death army with which I can wipe out Zagara's base with. But that doesn't sound very pacifist, does it? Conveniently for me, there are allied feral banelings that just so happen to push away the first Zagara attack wave. I accidentally kill some infested and have to reset. Collecting the eggs I need as fast as possible seems to be the best way to go about this. I gather my army and immediately burrow all the banelings. As cute as they are, their AoE damage can cause far too many accidental kills, so it's best to just avoid them. With the Zerglings, I go to destroy Zagara's base, but what does that actually mean? I have to destroy every production structure in her base to finish the mission, which means the hatcheries and then the structures like the spawning pool and the Hydralisk den. It's time to show Zagara the meaning of pacifism. I click on every single structure and am on my way before she even knows what hit her. Next up, Fire in the Sky. This mission is very difficult, but not quite up to the level of Rendezvous. We have to eliminate all 7 Gorgon battlecruisers that General Warfield sends to destroy our base, and the only way to do that is planting creep tumors right next to the Scourge nests, which are invincible structures located in the middle of a Terran fortress. Wonderful. To top it all off, there are many missile turrets to spot my creep tumors, and Warfield has orbital commands to just straight up scan for them. Right away I grab the minerals and then explode my banelings. First things first, I make queens. Kerrigan is great for tanking while the creep tumors get closer to the Scourge nests. It's not long until the attack waves start, which marks a timer that I will have to respect or lose the mission. I opt to go for roaches that can greatly increase the time that I will stall out the attack waves. The issue with this comes when I try to push the creep forward to the next nest. There is a missile turret, and without constant tanking, the forces here will destroy my creep tumors. When Kerrigan kills something on accident, I decide it's time to reset. Ditching the roaches and instead rushing +2 carapace upgrades, I can amass a sizable force of queens. Once the time is right, I go for something I'm calling the Death March. I will send all my queens on a one-way trip to lay as many creep tumors as possible and tank for each other as much as possible. They will have to persist through the entire fortress and ignore all the detection. Without too much trouble, my queens can push their way to the 3rd Scourge nest and activate it. I move them up and burrow them so I can collect my thoughts for a second. Warfield lets me have my piece for about 2 seconds before scanning, and scanning again, and again. It becomes painfully clear that Warfield isn't going to give me even a second of reprise, so I quickly push the creep up the ramp, only to find a freaking Thor and then a siege tank. Despite all of this, the creep makes it up to the 4th Scourge nest, and finally I get a moment of rest. With half of my queens left, I keep moving, but it becomes clear that I have lost too much steam. Let's try this again, shall we? I make it up to the same spot, but with 12 queens instead of 8. Fantastic! At this point, the pressure against my base is getting really high, and then my broodlings are killing things on accident. I reset and keep pushing on. The 5th Scourge nest falls to me in short time. The energy on my queens is low and the pressure is high, but I have to keep pushing. Keep laying creep, keep healing queens. There's another Thor tank combo next to the 6th Scourge Nest, and I have ghosts constantly sniping my queens. This rips through several of my queens, but the Scourge Nest is mine. I activate it and get the hell out of there. I have just 5 lonely ladies left. Make that 4. The attack waves have put me down to just 1 building, so I quickly make a few more. The last Scourge Nest is up this ramp. I have no idea what defenses are up there, but what else is there to do other than just send it? So, that's exactly what I do. Marching these lovely ladies right up the ramp, there happened to be no detection, so I secured the win. Thank goodness that's out of the way. After the hell that was fire in the sky, we get to Old Soldiers. There are a few gates that I have to destroy to progress the mission, and then there's the main objective. My initial thought was that I could just breeze past everything and destroy the objective with my starting forces, but, that didn't work. Additionally, the Banelings kept getting killed and then blowing up, accidentally killing Dominion Marines in the process. So this is a no-go. I opt to just use the Zerglings and get as much damage done as I can to these walls before Warfield blows my army sky high. Again, it's Roach time. I stall with some starting units and make a ton of roaches. An unfortunate nuclear incident leads Warfield blowing up his own army, and I send my roaches on their way to win the mission. These little guys are so absurdly strong. Before we leave Char, it's time to do the Baneling Evolution. The Mitoscarabs are a required kill, and then... oh my goodness, wait. Finally, we don't have to kill everything on an evolution mission. We can just snipe the Colossus and call it good. Thank you, Splitterlings. And then, just like with the Splitters, the Hunters only have to kill the Planetary Fortress. Banelings, I won't ever use you, but thank you. If you thought Char was hell, then welcome to Xeris. We start with Waking the Ancient, a mission where we must feed the hungry hippo as much Quilgore biomass as possible. I'm allowing myself to kill only the large Quilgores so that I may harvest their meat. Overall, there aren't too many primal Zergs spread across the map, but the issue comes with harvesting the meat. My drone has to channel uninterrupted for a full minute, oftentimes in the middle of primal outposts. So, once again, we're making roaches. With a few roaches in hand, I can have them distract from my poor drone and harvest the meat. Once harvesting is complete, my roaches retreat. Overall, it's pretty neat. That is, until the attack waves start. Being required to harvest 7 meat means that I have to spend a lot of time going back and forth, and the attack wave pressure gets pretty high. Before too much time has passed, my base is already dead, and I have to make proxy hatcheries. Harvesting all the meat will cause Brack to spawn, who is also a main objective to kill. A few tries to get everything right, and I can kill Brack while having enough of my base still alive. The Ancient One has been awoken, and we're moving on to the Crucible. The Crucible starts with a simple no-build section where Abathur teaches me how to use swarm hosts. I can simply walk Kerrigan past and burrow her on the point. The Primal Zerg will despawn and my swarm hosts are teleported into my base. This is where the swarm is tested on whether they can be pacifists or not. A 25-minute timed defense mission against the Primal Zerg, much like Rendezvous, but different in a few ways. It's easier because I have more tools to work with, better upgrades, and a second expansion to mine from for more money. It's more difficult because I'm defending against the Zerg and not the Terran. The enemy gets upgrades. There are 3 entrances to defend instead of 2. I'm defending 1 structure of mine instead of just trying not to be eliminated, and to top it all off, I'm defending for 25 minutes instead of 15. A massive increase in the time I have to hold off the ridiculously high pressure from the primals. If Rendezvous was the easier of the 2 monstrous missions, the Crucible is the most difficult mission in Heart of the Swarm Pacifist. Let's get started. Looking back through my footage, I have 16 hours of time I spent attempting this level. Now, how did it all start?
Hear me, broken Zerg. You have killed Brack, but his pack survives.
Remember this line from Yagdra. One thing's for sure, after how many times I heard it, I won't ever forget it. I thought that roaches would be plenty to stall out the attackers, healing when they got low using burrow. Oh, how wrong I was. After a very short time, the primals were attacking the Chrysalis with more than 17 minutes left on the clock. Let's try that again. This time I maybe try to heal my spine crawlers using my queens, but this was clunky where I had them.
Hear me, broken Zerg. You have killed Brack, but his pack survives.
I then tried to make a wall with uprooted spine crawlers, but I was too slow to get it up. One more try and I had done it. Let me introduce you to one of the most powerful, yet most frustrating defenses the Zerg can utilize. Frustrating for me, that is. We'll get into that later though. This is the uprooted spine crawler wall.
Hear me, broken Zerg. You have killed Brack, but his pack survives.
Something about the way Yagdra says survives really just tickles my brain. I then get to work testing a bunch of different things. Nothing really sticks though. I even looked into the regenerative acid upgrade on the Baneling as an alternative to healing my buildings, but it wasn't viable. Pretty soon I managed to set up spinecrawler walls on both entrances. The only issue with this is I need so many queens and to use the S key micro on both sides at the same time, and if I was Serral then maybe, but unfortunately I'm not Serral. My walls get breached and I'm dead again. It doesn't really matter how I go about it, I can't hold both spinecrawler walls at the same time. To top it off, the spawn locust is considered getting kills. While the locusts are technically allied, Kerrigan gets all of the kill credit, and she actually has an ability to spawn them. And yes, her cocoon is considered my structure. Next, I experimented with luring the roaches and zerglings around using queens. If I can get this first attack wave to camp Yagdra's first attack wave, they could kill each other. Because nothing says pacifism like instigating fights between two rabid packs.
Hear me, broken Zerg. You have killed Brock, but his pack survives.
And the amazing thing was, it actually worked. Well, kinda. The roaches are ridiculously difficult to lure around, and they lose their focus and turn around to go back to the chrysalis very easily. And once a primal is attacking a chrysalis, it's nearly impossible to get them to stop. I needed a new way to lure them. Pretty soon, however, it dawned on me. What if I lured them through my own base? I have access to these spine spore crawlers from the start of the mission. They have armor, health, and enough movement speed on creep to pass. Again, though, it doesn't go well. When the zerglings and roaches are together, it's incredibly hard to lure them. I have to both avoid getting surrounded by the zerglings and keep attention of the roaches. It's very difficult. Then I had a freaking neuron activation. If the roaches and zerglings are too hard to kite together, why kite them together? I can separate them by getting the zerglings to chase a spinecrawler, while I unburrow some queens to get the attention of the roaches. It was brilliant, and it worked. It was time to restart and get a more consistent strategy of this go. I take a super early expansion and drone up hard, while spreading creep to the east very fast. I put 3 uprooted spines next to the chrysalis to lure the roaches instead of the queens. It's not easy, but uprooted spines on creep still have the same movement speed as these roaches, so it's easier than before. Still not easy at all though. The roaches love to get off sync and just walk back to the chrysalis, and I have to keep microing as well. Mostly making drones, moving my spinecrawler so it doesn't get surrounded by zerglings. After a lot of tries, and I mean a lot of tries, I finally got it, and it worked. Everything except the Primal Ultralisk and a Roach are dead. The Ultralisk is no problem to lure to the other side, where it will die to Brack's next attack wave. But the Roach might just have to live where it is. Pretty soon Brack's attack shows up and I'm not ready for it, but this is a huge moment for alleviating early game pressure. However, this save is poorly prepared. I'm floating a ton of cash and my defenses really just aren't what they need to be. After fiddling it with it a ton, I realize that a full mission restart needs to happen. I get back to the same spot, having lured the primals the same way, but with much better macro. After a ton of restarts, of course, because the roaches are a pain. This is where I found something rather annoying. The attack waves have a splash of RNG to them. With the zerglings and the roaches camping the spawn of the attack wave, I need the one Ultralisk that spawns to spawn as late as possible. If it spawns first, the zerglings and roaches will kill it, and then kill nothing else. If it spawns last, they'll kill just about everything except for the Ultralisk. It's completely random when the Ultralisk spawns or not, but it seems if I just load the same save, it stays the same. However, in practice, it's absolutely changing between attempts. This is where I just start running attempts to get one with good RNG, and then I can load the save back and play it like I would, with a ton of resets from roaches not cooperating, of course. This brings us to the next chunk of footage I have, which is 3.5 hours long. This is what it looks like an hour in. I'm still resetting to roaches and RNG. Eventually though, I finally get exactly what I need. 1 Ultralisk and 2 Zerglings. Super easy to kite, and I have spent my money well to build an adequate defense. I can lure the creatures over to the left and get them killed as well. Boom. Just like that, the first 2 attack waves are dealt with, and my swarm didn't shed a single drop of blood. This takes us to the next section of this level, what I'm going to call the slog. What is the slog, you might ask? It's keeping my flanks holding steady until I have brought enough time for Kerrigan to hatch. I tried using the spine crawler wall on both sides again, but clearly this was a stupid idea. Finally, I wisen up and build roaches. On a constant move command, I can have these roaches tank shots and stall Yagdra's pack forever. Is what would happen if they had adaptive plating, but they have freaking tunneling claws! Normally, tunneling claws is superior for sniping an objective, but when I just need my roaches to be as tanky as possible, I need adaptive plating. Regardless of this, I give it my best try. The queens constantly transfuse the wall to the west, and they draw fire from the ranged units behind, as well as aggro the melee units, which try and get through, but they can't because it's a wall. This gets me farther than I've made it before, to about 10 minutes remaining. Still a long way to go, but a great start. Ton more resets to stupid stuff. Roaches killing things, walls getting breached, and I come to terms with the fact that I simply need adaptive plating. There's no way around it. So it's time to get back to the grind. I go back to the Leviathan, switch to adaptive plating, and start running attempts again, looking for one where the Ultralisk spawns late. Many hours later, I finally got it. This time I'm trying something different, however. In general, roaches are an easier method of stalling one side out, so why not do it for both sides? This actually worked really well for a while. When the enemy gets +1 attack, it falls off really hard. I don't have the money or larva to keep up, so I'm finally back to the slog. Queens and spines on the left, roaches on the right. Eventually the pressure gets insanely high and my walls get breached. Brax forces pour into my base, but we're already where I was when I lost last time, so there's some improvement. This run made it all the way to 7.5 minutes remaining. Remember earlier when I said spine crawlers were the most frustrating defense? Well, this is why. When my queens accidentally attack something on the other side of the wall, drawing the aggro of everything, the Zerglings get super pissed. When there's enough of them, they channel their pure rage to just push my wall open. I have literally no idea how this is possible, as my spines are on hold position. They should not be able to move, yet here you see them just walk out of the way and let the Zerglings in. I try to experiment with double layering my spine crawler wall, but it just doesn't work out. Regardless of if the Zerglings make it through, the pressure is immensely high and I can't hold. I get another new best at 6 minutes and 30 seconds remaining, but that's still a painfully long amount of time I have to hold off against the insane pressure. Then I get an even better time of 5.5 minutes remaining, but at this point all my options have been exhausted. My flanks were held and stalled for as long as I deemed possible. Everything was used to buy the precious seconds I need, and this second time I lost with under 30 supply. I logged off for the day to try something. I logged off for the day to try and get some inspiration. I start the next day right where I left off the previous, trying the same thing. Again, I was able to improve my time, down to 4.5 minutes left. Still not enough. Then I get a sub 4 minute remaining. I just throw myself at this over and over. Hours and hours poured into perfectly micromanaging 2 flanks at once. I start experimenting again. Hold position drones against the walls, roaches in front of the spines for more efficient transfusing. Nothing really worked or seemed practical. I tried infinite locusts to tank infinitely, but it was impossible to prevent them from killing something. I tried using swarm hosts to wall it off. Nothing. Nothing was hitting. And then it dawned on me. Although kiting roaches and hydralisks is a pain, it's possible, and when I'm this desperate, anything that's possible is better than just giving up. When the second of Brax's attack waves hits, I try using roaches to just kite the attack wave, and it works. Even when out of aggro distance, the roaches and hydras will pursue quite far. Soon I managed to get almost the entire attack wave to chase one roach and end up on Yagra's side of the map. Their 2 attacks would go head to head. One will die, and the other severely weakened. The overall pressure is so much lighter, feels like I can finally breathe. The pressure is still too much though. I changed things up a bit. I would lure more of Brax's forces to the other side, but the issue with this is that I can't get roaches outside my wall once there are enemies there. So the answer is simple. Put some roaches there before the enemies arrive. And that's exactly what I do. 8 roaches outside the wall, burrowed for later, and holy crap, it works so well. The Zergling numbers can constantly be chipped down and keep my flanks alive for so much longer. I managed to get a ton of progress by luring more attacks to the other side, relieving pressure from both flanks. I get by far my best attempt. 1.5 minutes remaining. Just a little more. I then spend a very long time resetting to one section to get things perfectly right. It feels like fires are popping up so fast and I have to put them all out or loose. I need to make all my drones into spines. I need to make sure the roaches don't kill anything. I need to make sure my walls don't get breached. I need to make sure I send Mutalisks to get the bonus objective. It becomes very clear what I need. More roaches. Specifically, more roaches to lure the attackers away so that I can just get rid of more pressure. I also need some spine crawlers by my natural expansion to uproot and hold positions that the Mutalisk focus that first, instead of my base which keeps dying. I go back in time, put 16 roaches outside the wall instead of 8, and continue. I won't lie, it's still rough. My queens still die quickly and my roaches still accidentally kill things. To top it off, the third flank from the south gets broken and puts just enough damage on the Chrysalis to get it at low HP by the time I do my final stand, which is really bad because I need as much HP as possible. I have to lure enemies just right to keep them away from this. I spend so much time with the luring roaches, even slowing the game down to make it just that much more manageable. After so much time and so much Primal Zerg pain, I decide that I had done enough. Enough of the primals had fought each other, enough time had been bought, and I had enough money. It was time to make my final stand, one final time. The western wall had been breached, pull the queens back. Let the primals waste time on the spine crawlers. Pretty soon I pull the roaches back too. The goal is to keep as many of them off the Chrysalis as possible, while the queens keep healing back as much of the damage as they can. I am insanely rich, so keeping up on roach production is no problem. And how did it all end? Well, see for yourself.
Defend the Chrysalis. The swarm will prevail. The primals are attacking the Chrysalis.
Able to spawn locusts now.
I had done it and instantly took a screenshot. What, do you blame me? This took me 16 excruciating hours of attempts, and finally, I had bested the Crucible with just one juicy kill on the Tyrannosaur. If I ever have to hear Yagdra tell me that I killed Brack one more time, I'm being sent off to the insane asylum. The Crucible was pain. Let's hope that Supreme is much easier. This is a no-build mission where I get to use Primal Kerrigan to kill all the Primal Pack leaders, including Yapping Yagdra. Right away, the game wants me to kill this Hydralisk by leaping across the gap. Thankfully, I can avoid killing this innocent creature. I continue as normal until I get to this bonus objective. I can't get it. Leaping Kerrigan up the cliff will always kill the Zergling, and since the Zerglings aren't the bonus objective, I can't have this one. Soon I'm fighting Yagdra, and I can finally take my revenge of all the talking he did in the Crucible. On casual difficulty, the pack leaders have a laughably low amount of health. I can focus them down and win before anything bad happens. I continue to burrow all my units and walk Kerrigan through. This bonus objective can be collected without killing anything, but it's tricky for sure. A few resets to get it right and escape with my life. Kraith is much the same, click on him and win. The final section has the bonus objective around these cliffs, which I can navigate through without killing the primals. But I can't go back without killing them. I have to skip this one as well. The section is easy, like the rest, although Kerrigan did accidentally kill this plant once, which was pretty rude. Sylvan was just as easy as the rest, and so was Zervin. Finally, the nightmare that was Xeris is over, and we can go and get my favorite unit of the run. But before that, we have another letdown of an evolution mission. Both the Impaler and Lurker evolutions require me to kill everything. Hummer. Kerrigan takes the swarm to Sky Gear, where I get the strongest beacon of pacifism that exists. Meet the Infested, my absolute goat. They have two abilities that I am a huge fan of: Neural Parasite and Consume. Neural Parasite grants me permanent control of an enemy unit, converting them to the side of pacifism, and Consume takes some health away from an allied unit to regenerate their energy. I have a way to eliminate attack waves by turning them to my side. This is fantastic. To top it off, I have many allied Infested on this mission that can basically solo the mission, and the bonus objectives don't even require killing. If I could make the perfect pacifist mission, this would be it. I glide through the rest of this level, infesting every unit I can see, and clicking on the objective with my massive Terran Death Ball. Unfortunately, every level won't be easy, even with the power of the Infestor. Hand of Darkness takes us to the Hybrid Lab, where the Hybrid are psionically attacking Kerrigan. We are on a time limit to kill the Hybrid before they destroy Kerrigan and their main objective. So, we can do this. Unfortunately, we can't Neural Parasite them. I rush Infestors as fast as I can and work to take control of as much attack waves as possible. The first Hybrid is no problem, but the second one presents a bit more of a problem. My army is plenty large enough, but there are auto turrets by the Hybrid, which my Infestors can't convert to pacifism. I thought it would be as simple as clicking on the Hybrid and queuing up a command to move back to my base without killing anything, but there are two big problems that weren't present with the first Hybrid. First of all, the stupid little turrets. The Hybrids love to stun my units and send shockwaves out, which resets their commands, causing them to attack nearby units, like the auto turret. Second, the Hybrid splits into three, two copies and then the real one. This also resets my unit's commands on it and causes them to attack the turrets. This Hybrid took a frustrating amount of tries to kill without destroying one of the turrets as well. After this though, there aren't any Hybrid that split up and have nearby enemy units or structures, making it relatively easy to simply poke forward with my Infestors to take control of the enemies and then move in to kill the Hybrid. Finally, we have the Mutalisk Evolution. With the Broodlords, we're only asked to kill the Broodlords, so I do that, kiting the enemy Mutalisks away to prevent them from dying to the bounce attack. Then we only have to kill the Planetary Fortress. A simple right click and done. The Viper Evolution isn't as fun. We simply have to kill everything, even though I got to the end without killing the siege tanks. Phantoms of the Void is the final mission where we are against the Protoss. The Tal'Darim fanatics are helping Narud on his task to beat Kerrigan in a Dragon Ball Z duel. The starting no build segment has us clear out a base. I hope it only counts the structures. Doesn't. I have to clear the starting area of enemies to continue. The mission begins and I'm rushing infestors. Thankfully, there are only enemies guarding my expansion, so I can convert them to pacifism and take the base. The main objective is to channel Stukov at the temples for 60 seconds, which have Protoss defenders and the hybrid around them. I find that it can be incredibly clunky to mind control of the Protoss defenders, and the hybrid are completely immune anyways, so I opt to use my new unit, the Ultralisk, to simply tank shots for Stukov until he's unchanneling. It's best Stukov is sacrificed at the temple so that the hybrid remain there and stay out of my way, and that's pretty much it. Another Infestor solo piece. Although it does get a little dicey having to trudge through such a large Protoss base eventually, but Infestors always pull through. Unfortunately, I didn't get the final bonus objective because I'm bad. In Dominion space, we have a unique mission. Playing as the Hyperion attempting to rescue Colonel Orlan from Mira's Marauders. Not only is this first section impossible to avoid killing anything, it's also required to clear out all the enemies, so they are required kills. After clearing the first section, I realized that I have allies and they can do their thing. Maybe I won't have to kill anything after all. Well, 4 hours go by and Valerian has made a laughably low amount of progress. This is where I do some experimentation, and then I realize that TIE fighters don't give me any kill credit and they don't count towards enemies killed at all. So with the help of my funky little TIE fighters, most of the mission is a breeze, bar a few resets from when I accidentally kill some things. Conviction is quite possibly the most frustrating mission in Heart of the Swarm Pacifist. There are an obnoxious amount of required kills and we're given infestors. So some rooms are technically possible if you neural every single enemy. Let's get started. Starting off, Kerrigan is all I'm given, and then these Nidus worms burst through the side to deliver troops right into the fray, exactly where I don't want them to be. I quickly have to burrow them or suffer a restart. Additionally, only when I kill this second group of units does the door open. Great. Some walking past units, and then I'm given my infestors. 2 of them. I actually need both of them alive for this next section. It's very important. There is a room of guards that needs to be cleared. Only the bunkers need to be destroyed, everything else can be knurled. But that's not why I need both infestors. I need them for what comes right after. It's a defense segment where enemies are rapidly sent to attack Kerrigan. Very rapidly. This section will not continue until you are done with all the enemies here, and 1 infestor can't do that alone. Hell, 2 can barely do it. But that's the thing. Barely. So I reload and save both infestors to begin tediously recruiting the entire room of Dominion. The next room features a lot of allied infested that can spawn, but unfortunately, not enough to break down all the defenses. The room itself isn't much of an issue until the bunkers and missile turrets which I can't infest. I instead just knurl every unit, not hiding like a coward, and move on, but the door isn't opening. I cleared everything in the room, right? Okay, I'll go back and clear everything out there too. Well, the door's still shut. What the heck? I guess it bugged out. I reloaded and decided not to knurl things this time. Maybe that bugged it out. Well, it seems that killing the defenders worked. Of course. And of course this final room has me knurling every single enemy unit possible. This was still extremely tedious, especially with my giant death ball sitting right behind me. If any of them just decided to kill the enemies, I would be powerless to stop them. Eventually I did make it through to the time section. There are 2 rooms in this section that must be cleared of enemies to pass. While technically you can knurl them all, there just plain isn't enough time to do so, so it's not even close. So technically, no. It's not possible to beat Heart of the Swarm as a pacifist, considering the fact that I have access to infestors and can't knurl the enemies in time to win. They are required kills though, so I'm killing them and moving on regardless. Such a bummer though. At long last, my pacifist swarm has shed as little blood as possible and made it to Core Hall. It is here that the final battle with Mengsk awaits, and I won't hesitate to convert as many of those Dominion killers into pacifists as I can. Let's get started with Planetfall. After getting the Infestor, I really thought that this run would be a cakewalk. Oh boy, did Planetfall prove me wrong. We have to defend 5 bio-launchers while they morph in and keep defending them until all 5 have landed. 3 of these 5 are in the middle of Dominion outposts. Oh lord. I rushed the Infestor to begin amassing an army of Dominion forces. The first 2 bio-launchers go up just outside my base, so it's a simple task of knurling any contesting forces. Things get tricky on the 3rd, as it's positioned right next to 2 bunkers which I can't knurl. Not only do I have to tank for the bio-launcher, but I'm getting double-pronged and the pressure starts to build up. I realize that if I lose a bio-launcher, this isn't going to work, so I reset. With a little bit of good play and planning ahead, I can get the 3rd bio-launcher up and being tanked for. The 4th one is even deeper into enemy lines, and I have to get there well before it lands. Not only do I have to knurl all the defenders, but the game also gives me units that will automatically attack nearby enemies, which must quickly be told not to do that. The 4th bio-launcher takes some time, but eventually I can keep it alive. The 5th one is even further into enemy lines. I do some testing and conclude that once you get all 5 bio-launchers up, you don't have to defend them anymore. So my goal is simple, defend just long enough to get the 5th one up and operational before finishing the mission. So I send all my Terran forces through a special dance around the last bio-launcher, and then I send Kerrigan and the Infestors to tank for the other 2. In theory this would work great, but my Terran army actually dies before the launcher is deployed. I try again, but send infestors to neural the tanks, dishing out most of the damage, which is better, but not quite enough. After trying again and neuraling everything that's needed, all 5 bio-launchers are up. Then I simply must clear this last section of all units and structures to win the level, which is technically an objective. Planetfall wasn't easy, but still nothing compared to the Crucible. Before we continue, it's time for the last evolution mission. Thankfully, the Ultralisks are fine with being pacifists. The first one has me destroying this containment cell. I hoped that my Ultras would transform faster, so this Marine has a near-death experience before being saved by Abathur. The stinky Ultras accidentally kill the Marine, so I briefly reset and just insta-burrow them. Lucky for me, there is a cloud of poison that damages the Dominion, but not my Ultras, and it doesn't give me kill credit. I can lure all the Marines to this cloud and get rid of them. In the name of pacifism, of course. This group of Dominion doesn't want to go play in the green smoke, however. So I bring 2 Ultras forward and burrow one just where they can't see it. I lure them over it with another and sneak past without them suspecting a thing. This last Ultralisk can easily lure the Dominion out of position and escape the lab. The Tarask are brilliant too. After this intro segment where I must kill everything, the Tarask shines. Being as bulky as they are, I'm allowed to simply click on the objective and win. Nice! Now that the swarm is on Core Hall, Mengsk is powering up his ultimate weapon, the Psi Destroyer. We start with a no-build section featuring Dahaka, where he can snipe the power link and move us to the building section. The plan is simple. We're bringing back our old war hero, the Roach. We get +1 carapace and a ton of roaches. I had to reset a few times due to accidental kills, but it was pretty simple once I got it working. With just a few dozen roaches, I click the burrow button, tunnel through the Terran fortress. My roaches are practically invincible, and soon they find the Psi Destroyer, where they unburrow and win the mission in a cool 7 minutes. Well, that was easy. Finally, this is it. Everything had led to this moment, and I intend to shed no more blood. I will tear down Mengsk's palace gates, and I will do so as a pacifist. The reckoning begins like many other missions, with a rush to infestors. The Dominion attack fast and hard, but that just means my Terran deathball grows equally as fast. Things are fine until the Hyperion shows up. For the most part, Raynor can hold his own, especially when the Dominion brings me funny toys to add to my collection as part of their attack waves. But when the Odin shows up, Jimmy's in trouble. I can't neural the Odin, and I have a hard time supplying help for him. And Mengsk keeps sending attack waves to my base, which I have to devote quite a bit of time to. Eventually, I just reset and use some of my infestors to tank for Raynor while his Siegebreaker rips into the Odin's health. It works much better, and I can continue to grow my death ball. I deem it time to march onto Mengsk's palace. Using his own people that I've converted to pacifism, we can knock on his door and teach him the ways of peace. Unfortunately, the ground path is really long, and my units barely scratch the paint of his door. So I reload and try again, but this time making a buttload of Ultralisks to go with them. And just like that, as seamlessly as it started, it's over. So, can you beat Heart of the Swarm as a pacifist? Yes! Well, except for that one mission conviction. Damn you, Jim! This run was a lot of fun to complete, and a very interesting take on how to play the game. Obviously, there is still the Protoss campaign and Legacy of the Void. If you're interested in seeing me suffer through that campaign, let me know in the comments, and like I said earlier, don't hesitate to leave a like, subscription, and a comment. It helps me deliver these challenge runs for you to enjoy. Thank you again, I hope you enjoy the video, and I'll see you all later.